In the last video, you completed the slab plan in detail. What we're going to do now is take this same file, but we're going to do a save as, and save it as Camp Piers, and we'll add a pier foundation underneath instead, and we'll just replace these views. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go up to the R drive, hit Save As, Project, and you can go ahead and put this in the same location. I'm going to create another folder here though, and call it Piers. So this is in the S drive under the Cons 130 folder, and make inside your camp folder, create a new folder called Pier. And then inside that we'll rename this Camp Pier or Piers instead of Camp Slab, and then hit Save. So anything you did from that Camp Slab video, Camp Slab drawing will remain the same. Now we have a copy of it, and we're going to go ahead and make some changes. So the first thing I'm going to do, now that I've saved it and I know it's a new file, is I'm going to go to the 3D view, and I'm going to get rid of the existing foundation that we have. So I'm going to delete all of the stuff, including the actually, I'm going to leave the floor there because I can just change that floor to a new one. Because this is going to be piers, this floor system can no longer be a slab. It needs to be turned into a floor joist with subfloor and finished floor. So if we click on the floor, it's already got the right profile to it. Use the down arrow here and find the 2x12 wood joist 2x12 wood finish. Now if you don't happen to have this, we can create one by clicking on the wood joist 10-inch wood finish, hit Edit Type. I'm going to duplicate it and just change that to 12-inch wood finish. So I'm going to end up with two of the same floor types in my video, but you won't in yours. And you only need to do this if you didn't have the one that I had shown there. Across from structure, the only thing you need to do is change the structure, wood structure that's 9 1/4, change it to 11 1/4 so it matches the same depth as a 2x12. Okay, so there's structure 11 1/4, and then hit OK. And now we have a brand new floor system, and we've just changed our floor to that floor system. So we need to do a few things. First of all, we've got to support this with piers and posts, and then you'll notice that once we did this, our floor system is exposed on the side. So I'm going to take care of that first. The walls themselves have an ability to have the outside sheathing and siding extend down below where we have the foot of the, or the shoe rather, of the wall. And that's called a base extension. But we can't set a base extension, which notice over here it's grayed out, until we edit the wall a certain way. So I'm going to select one of the walls that has already been created, click on Edit Type, and I'm not going to duplicate it. I actually want to do this to all the walls that are existing. So I'm going to click on the Structure, Edit button, and then if you hit this preview button here, it will expand and show you a picture of the wall system with all the layers. There's the gypsum wall board, the stud layer, the sheathing layer, and the siding layer. We can change this view from a plan to a section view, and when we do that, these buttons here become active. And I want to zoom in on the bottom of the wall and choose the Modify button. Select the little outer edge of the bottom edge of the sheathing and unlock it. Select the edge of the bottom edge of the siding and unlock it. If you have to get a little closer to do that, that's what we're doing right here, because we want to see those two locks unlocked for those two layers. Once you've done that, hit OK, and then hit OK again, and you'll notice that that base extension distance has become available, and now we have two arrows here that we could change the wall depth with. This arrow will change the entire wall height, or the base constraint. This arrow on the outside will change the base extension distance. So I'm going to just track that down and have it match the depth of the floor joist, and I'm going to do that all the way around You should have arrows all the way around for the walls, because they're all the same wall type, just like that. So I'm looking for that second arrow on the outside, and then I'm just matching it to the height of the floor. So this one's already done because those two walls are the same wall, remember, because the profile that we edit. So you just keep going around the house, matching that height, and that part is fixed. All right, so now we have the exterior sheathing inside and coming down and covering that floor area. If we look down underneath, that's what we're seeing. And so what we need to do now is support our floor with some posts and some piers. So let's put the piers in first. So we're going to go to the foundation plan, and we have some leftover notes here that we're going to want to get rid of. Remember, those were from the slab drawing. Whoops, this is no longer a 4-inch concrete slab. Can't seem to select that one. There we go. So now we're looking at the first floor top of, yeah, those are all the wood floor we're looking at. So we need to change our view range as well, because we don't want to be looking at this floor. We want to be looking at the piers that are supporting it below. But before I make that change, I actually want to use the edges of this floor system to position the piers properly. So the piers we're creating are structural piers. So you can either go under the Structure tab and click on Column, and we'll have a pipe column. And if we click on here, you might have to load for a column that is structural foundation or structural columns, and we should have concrete columns, and we want round ones like that. Okay, so we have to go and search for them and load them. 12 inches is probably bigger than it needs to be. Let's see if we have anything less. So I'm going to change that to 10 inches. So I'd edit the type, duplicate it, change it to 10, and then change the B dimension, which is the diameter of the column, to 10 inches. Hit OK. So now we have a 10-inch column. I want to put those columns into the drawing so that they are tangent to the corners here. So I want to be careful to put this right where I want it. So the first thing I'm going to do is move the column so that the center of the column is right at the corner of the building. And then what I can do, because I know the offset of the column, is I can hit the move button, click anywhere on the column, and then move in this direction, just drag it in this direction 5 inches. So now I know it's tangent to this line. And then move it again and just pick it anywhere and drag it in this direction 5 inches. And now I know that column's precisely where it's supposed to be. Before I go and copy it though, let's go ahead and take a look at where the column is in 3D space. So there's our column in 3D space right here. And it's a little bit taller than it needs to be. It's not quite in the right location. So I want to select the column, and I want to relate the column to the correct level. So right now we have it attached to the first floor for the base level, but then a -9 feet from that level. I'm only going to have that set to -4'6" instead. Okay, so that reduces the height of the column. The top level is set to first floor, and then top offset is at 0, so it's right at first floor. It really shouldn't be right at first floor. It should be just below first floor. So I'm going to set that at negative. Let's see, it's going to be 11 1/4 plus 3/4 of an inch would be 12, plus another 3/4 of an inch for the finish would be 12 3/4. So 12.75 inches. So that should have put the column right at the bottom of the floor. I actually want there to be about a, no, that's fine actually, because we could put the post right on in the inside, and the post would hold up the the floor framing, so you just wouldn't see the post. If it happened to be we wanted to raise this house up above the grade a little bit more, then I wouldn't want to see an exposed concrete post all the way up to there. So I would put the post at about 6 inches above grade, and then I would, or pier rather, 6 inches above grade, and then the post would continue up to carry the floor system. But this is going to work in this scenario because we're going to have the grade be only 6 inches below the bottom of our foundation, or the bottom of our floor system. So now what I want to do is go back to that foundation view, and I have the pier still. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to copy it. And this is where you're going to use the sketch dimensions that you had from the sketches that you did for the pier. So the first dimension here, I believe we came up with, as we had 28 feet, we decided to do 7 feet on center for the piers. However, this pier should be 7 feet minus the 5-inch offset. So that would be 6 feet 7 inches. For this first pier. Then we can select the next one and copy it, pick the center, and then put in 7 feet. Select that pier, copy it, pick the center, put in another 7 feet, and then the last pier here is going to be in the same position as this one. So what I'm going to do is select the first one and use the mirror tool, and I'm going to pick the midpoint of this pier right here to mirror that pier to the other side. That's exactly what we want to see. Now all of these piers should be in exactly the same place on the other side, so I'm going to select the whole row of them, hit mirror again, and then pick the midpoint of this line. See if that's going to show up as a midpoint. I don't have a midpoint, so let me try to draw a mirror line. There we go. There's our mirror line there, and then that brings our second row here of columns on this side. I had to hit escape to finally see them, by the way. Alright, so now I just need to put the columns in this corner, so I'm going to just take this pier right here and hit copy, and I'm going to use the corner of the building as a reference and move that pier here. Then I'll take the other pier on the other side, hit copy, pick that corner as my reference and put that one here. And then we discussed the many different ways you could lay out these piers. But if we were framing this way with our framing, and then we decided we were framing this way for the framing for this bump out, then we would need a pier in the center here, and then one here as well. So I'm going to just take this pier here and copy it. And I want to copy it so that the center of the pier is 10 feet, which is half the width in that, minus the 5-inch offset. So that would end up being 9'7". And then we can take that last pier and copy it from here to here. This time I use the quadrant of the circle, and then I think we have the piers everywhere we need to have them. So at this point I'm going to change the view range so that I'm seeing what I'm supposed to be seeing for this foundation. So I will go to the foundation properties, go down to view range, and I want to change this from first floor. We'll put this at a, let's see here. I think we want to put this at negative 13 inches. And then so this should be at negative, let's do 1'6". And that should show us just the piers. So what we did was we set our top reference to first floor, but then we wanted to be able to see everything from below the first floor 1 foot 1 inch, so that cleared our first floor framing. And then we also wanted to make sure we're seeing the piers really well, so I went down another 1 foot 6 inches, so we were definitely cutting through the piers and plan. The bottom is set to level below, and the view depth is set to level below, which allows us to see just our pier placement. I am going to put a underlay under here. So I'm going to put underlay of first floor so we can see our first floor. And I'm just going to use that to add detail lines. And I'm just going to trace those detail lines around the footprint of the building. Doesn't look like I have an endpoint there. I've got to make sure I've got the right ones. So there's the footprint of the building. So see, this one's not quite in the right place. So let's snap that to the right place. Then I can get rid of the underlay. And what I'm going to do with those lines is I want to select all of them. And I want to change them by right-clicking and choosing Override in Graphics by Element. I want to change them to a phantom line. So what these lines are just showing us is where the footprint of the building would be. I think it's not called a phantom line in here. It's called a dash or double dash. There it is right here. So we'll hit apply, OK. And if we look at our line weights, I have this set up so that these lines are wide lines. So we should see them with our line weights. There we go. That's what our line weights would look like when we have them turned on. Now these phantom lines should be right up against the edge of the piers. So let me see if I can align them to the edge here. I guess not. So I'll move this from here to here. And we'll do the same thing with this here. Move this from here to here. Bring those in so they should be tangent. And it's just because we ended up snapping these to the outside finish wall instead. And I think we're all set. Okay, so now we can go ahead and add some dimensions. I'm going to add some center lines as well, actually. So I'm going to annotate detail lines again, and I'm going to draw lines from the center of the piers. And I'll just copy that from the center of each pier to the center of the next. So let's do a multiple copy. So click on multiple, and that way you can just keep copying without having to keep repeating the copy command. So even though this is too long, I put it in there anyway. I can adjust it after the fact. And these can extend a little bit further if we want. So I want to select all of those lines and right-click on them, Override Graphics and View by Element, and I want to change these to center lines. And then I'm going to create the same center. Those should be thin lines rather than thick lines. So let's grab all of those as well. And we want to change those to a thin line type. Yep. And then we want to create the same lines in the other direction. So detail lines go from there to there, and then I can copy it. Copy from the center of that to the center of this. Let's go ahead and put that here as well. And we can move that line back in. And then I would select all three of those lines, do exactly the same thing, change them to thin lines, and then right-click on them, Override Graphics and View by Element, and change them to center lines. Alright, so we have our center line grid, and we have our phantom lines, so we can now locate all of our piers through dimensions. So we hit Align Dimensions, and I want to go from the phantom line to the center grid, or the center of each pier in this direction, back to phantom line, center of pier, back to phantom line, and we should end up with exactly the same dimensions we got when we did our sketch. And then we'll do the same thing in this direction, going from phantom line to center line to phantom line to center line. Keep going. And if you get any dimensions that don't make sense, those all do. They match our sketches. Then I'm going to add overall dimensions from outside to outside. And then finally, our full dimensions that indicate our full size. Do the same thing here. So this is now thoroughly dimensioned. Everything is located. We can add our text with an arrow, point to one of our piers, and call them out as 10-inch concrete. Let's make sure I have caps on. Concrete pier. Typical. And I believe that's all we needed to do for our pier foundation. So in the next video, we will go ahead and create the detail, and we will be done with our second video.